약합 소로 들자 약하는 요구에 들만이 되지래 조과탑지라 인생 사반의 두개 제 다시 되래 좋게 되래
And Dashitele to Madama friends who are joining us on the live stream, and also for the Mani retreat, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and good morning to you.
We'll begin the practice session with the Chenrezig Sadhana on page 1.
Tam je zor je Manang Gadan Yambe Semenje Damje Deva Dande Dong Dan Jar Nyur De Lai Nai Meba Yang Da Bar Zo Be Jan Joy Rinpoche Do Bar Ja.
All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment.
De je da samai je bar de lung ai zong ge wa lai gor mai je bar de lung ai zong ge wa lai gor de deren zon de nyama zan da zam je bar de lung ai zon ge wa lai gor.
For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue.
San je je dan zoi je joi nam la Jan joi bar de dan jab sun je Da ge jan zoi je be so nam je Zhuo lai ban je san je de bar zhuo.
Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
Oi manang ga da nyan be sen je dan je de wa dan de be je dan bar je Dong dan je dan je Dong me be de wa dan me je nye ren cha dan ye dan zhe da nyom la ne bar jor je.
May all other sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Ai de jan me me dong be nga nye le ran le do ne yan ren ba be ko ra ga jar je cha je dor je yo dam bu cha nye do gar ta mo ya ye yo mai chen chen be gan zhen zhen be yon zo dan ye ye me ge do ga do de je le ye do ge go le wan zhe chen o ya ye gang non je jian ruo zhen jian ba ge ge zha zha gun jia ye zhui ran xie la zhen duo dan jie jiang bai jian beng
Ah, from the unelaborated, unperceived, and empty state arises my own body as the Noble One's primordially perfected form, brilliantly white with one face, 4 arms, and legs in Vajra position. The first 2 hands are folded at the heart, while the lower right and left hands hold a crystal mala and a white lotus. The indivisible form of the wisdom being and Samaya being is complete with the major and minor marks. On a moon disk at the heart is the letter Hri, encircled by the 6 syllables, which radiate with light. These lights transform the outer universe into a boundless palace, and the inner sentient beings into the Noble One's form. All sounds transform into the nature of the 6 syllables, and all thoughts into a state of supreme love.
They tago is the star down. That's tago, that is the mother, no one about the tago. This is Tapata Suja Hakomari. Some Mubosima, Meba, some Pangrana, 17 bucks the Marba, Tons, the Yellow Band. Suja dog or chicha. So this is dog or the Saji Kama, the city of Hakota Mari, the tower of the young body. The general page of that of the San Zabel and the Sagan del Pejari. Zabel the Sagan some, some day, just some about that day, we need some Himato, Zabel the Sagan the Tombari, switch on some to marry.
And then, my friends, please continue to recite the Mani mantra continuously, while I continue with a few words on the Serkhangma Golden Temple prayer, and continuing from the verse where we left off yesterday. So that was on page number 3, the first verse, and the second line in the Tibetan, which says, which is the third line in English, you show all phenomena to be unborn. So the unborn nature of phenomena. So those who have studied the scriptures will understand what that means. What is this unborn, the nature of the unborn? But then for people like myself who haven't really studied so much, how can we understand the unborn? People like myself, you may wonder, what really is that, this unborn nature of phenomena? So the unborn nature of phenomena is the nature of emptiness, actually. Meaning that phenomena are unarisen and unceasing. Mind is unarisen and unceasing. And so what this is speaking of, saying that phenomena are unborn, it's really speaking about one's inner mind, the natural state of the inner mind. In the kind of old days, one of the more earlier scientists with some scholars have investigated, of course, analyzed the different phenomena on this planet. And so he was analyzing and basically looking for this smallest particle, but the more he dissected and looked, the more everything kind of fell apart. He didn't really find anything. And then at the end, he was left with not finding anything to grasp at all. But the thing is that he didn't have a name for that. They're just saying, that time the scientists were just saying, well, it's just nothing, there's just nothing there, can't find it. And so then the scientists maybe thought that if we don't look at the Buddha's teachings, we wouldn't know, so it's better we look at the Buddha's teachings. And then they looked at the Buddha's teachings and found that, oh, it's emptiness. The Buddha said it's emptiness. That's the word we were looking for. So then science, modern science, has obtained this word, emptiness. So this emptiness is the meaning of the unborn nature of phenomena. And then in the next line it says, thereby defeating the Mount Meru of views. So what's the reason that we are not able to realize the unborn nature of the mind? So we call the nature of the mind the view. So here it says the Mount Meru of views. So that refers to the collection of many wrong views. There's over 300 different kinds of views. For example, there is views that believe in a permanence, or there are views that believe in the characteristics of things, and there are views that believe in the material or concrete nature of things, and so on. There's many different views. But basically, what they all have in common is that it's the way our mind perceives the outer world, things. So mainly, how people perceive the outer world is there's the me, and then there is others. And then there's the world, and we think that it's real. We think that this planet is real, and it's been around for so many millions of years, and it will be around. And then the Buddha comes along and says, it's all empty. So then it's very hard for most people to just believe in that. They can't fathom the Buddha's view. And that's because since beginningless time in samsara, there always arises this thought of I, this me. And with the me, we accumulate karmas, or karmic imprints. And these karmic imprints are what create our perception of the world. So there are the collective karmic imprints, and these create the collectively perceived outer world. And then there's also the individual, personal karmic imprints, which are like the manifestations in a dream. And due to these personal karmic imprints, sentient beings perceive the various appearances of the 6 realms of samsara, which are actually illusory by nature. But beings do not understand that. They believe that what they see, what they perceive that's real. For example, our precious human body. Because we have this body, we think that this is me. So we say that that's me, that's my body, and that's you. And based on this body, we are always sick and we experience pain. So this belief in the true existence of our bodies and this material world is extremely firm. It is extremely solid. So we have a very solidified mind. And so therefore it is hard to fathom the words of the Buddha. But then when you really think about it, somebody who has understood, who has learned about the Buddhist view, knows that eventually this body will disintegrate. And then there still is the consciousness. So even though the body is no longer here, there still is this thought, this perception of me, this I. And that will continue on. And because of that, karmic imprints will continue on, and we will continue the manifestations of those karmic imprints. So we are experiencing our own karmic imprints. Actually, the Buddha said, within that mind, there is actually no self and no other. All it is a habitual tendency, an imprint. So all of this experience is just a karmic imprint and is not a reality. And for this reason, the Buddha said that those karmic imprints or habitual tendencies can become removed or purified. And we remove or purify these karmic imprints by realizing the view, which is the natural state of the mind. So what we really need to purify is our firm grasping, our fixation to the concrete reality of appearances and our concept structures. And that is something no one really has realized on their own. Actually, the mind does not exist in this concrete, structured way at all. And we don't realize that due to ignorance, and due to ignorance, we have accumulated these karmic imprints. That's why we can't see it. That's why it is said the mind is so difficult to realize. And it's really something we can only realize by relying on the Buddha's teachings, because the Buddha had truly understood the nature of the mind. So that's the meaning here of this Mount Meru of views. So, for example, the main view, or kind of mistaken view, is that in this world collectively we perceive this planet, for example, as something real and concrete. And we think that it's always here, we are here, we live here, and it's been here for millions of years, and it will be there for millions of years, and there's all these billions of beings living here, and so on. And so it's hard for people to understand. No one can really think that actually this world, this planet, actually lacks any inherent existence.
니차 숨차 잡고 요새 대는 람상데 매바다나 레라워레시 가래게 매바동 두고려야 되나 사지 좀 되게 뉴제 담체 마다 봐서 The change combo is, Chara the change combo, Pa, Totoris, the J. Tamchi Matabaris. Sanu Jukina, isn't it Matabatin and Paviari? The very similar, oh, Tangli, Tapari, Tibori, Shichestate, Cado. Allowed, oh, Green Toto, those Cento, Yankelin, Jangi, Tangi W. Sagaka, Tolman. This was some volatility. The Latini, none seemed someone Hagakan told none seemed daddy and Toya Yomers. Demba near Tonton, the Tata got up with Dembagi, Daddy, Daddy, Rap, only Geo Chiboris. There's also a lot of time was called Toya Yomaris. Oh, 강성 토야요마 다디데 토야메바 호지들이 결혼되방때 동부 고도사에서 이피게 로케 작업이 마셔 왔다 그랬더니 좋았다 다요변에 지듯이 다디게 다들 로드까지 또 이피로 가리도 다디는 이피 인잡듯이 야 저거산지 이피서는 니마다고 이피를 로드 정도나 마음을 사족서 봐야지 미지 잡고 차려라 Now said the Zambo channel, certainly, you learn the Sancho of the Joglan, you met the Zambo channel, now sent it. That is Dadi the Torah, here, Dadi the channel. Sancho was so charged that is the talk for it. There are Tonda, so Dadi the Torah, Dami of Shrapney, Tonda with their Martin. This is a new Tamji, the Zera of the Matabares, you know. 오늘 상제시 바카리 상제시 봐도 생코는 건 아시죠 상제를 상제랑이 사제랑은 오 가면 되나 니마세 바래 세배는 한 니마세 바라와지 낭세도 니마세 바인데 들이들 딱 같을 바다 도지 창시가 될 때야 도지 창제 대개들이 선거보다 치면 나와 탐지 다 tortugulo tabel jarhon bon job de tomi dorji song samsalo ta saje ka tu chune de yang son ta to top na ka to ta to so da ji to da ji de lo tin tor ya de de ma ta tong de yi na de da yi se me ba de ta jawa to ji shi lo de chik so no to ma lo chik o saje chik saje tam je chang sa ba 요 콘디에 탐지 사지 찍을 때 잡다봐 로직 도마 로직도 지다 이제 책디 따뜻하다 보니까 와 때는 밤에 이 몸이다 와시 봐도 요밤만이 매밤만이 니가만이 이미 많이 송 바꾸는 거 기본으로 써 거래 그때 세고랑 시대 뒤에 파는데 로로 빼지는 파를 보면 따와 야 너희랑 가다 냠이 살아고 좀 봐 sak지 좋지 무슨 통치지 줘 봐. 야, 나기 냠설라면 됐다. 돈이 좀 나왔다라는 또 어떤가. 때마치 조건은 잘줘야요. 그때 돈 나서 됐다. 내 남아 상계가 공부하더니 용띠 있다 올라. 셔도 딱게 땅들이랑 생각도 들때도 상계 용띠 돈을 다들 이제 만남과의 고상한가 요말 소환하고 요말 sep지는 상계니 되잖아. 그러다 샘들이 다른게 칼이 맞춰봤다 그래서 까빠 돈도 잡으면 봐요. rum이 찍으면 저는 세송 대비나 신여자 그쪽라 까빠 잡고 저만 세송 나도 사기가 가면 뒤동대 돈이 돌이 송되게 돼서 돈다고 돼봐 돈 두고 요래 내가 딱게 겹쳤다면 문에 돼서 고야 요래지 나 용띠 매저 소소 딱게 가지는 땅게 요지 돈이 돌이 송은 삼살로 그때 돈답에 대말에 사지 까탐지도 대만 이런데 대만이들이 돈답에 대마 또볼 거도 대마더니 참여가 이제 맞더라 돈답에 만 통투고요 나도 통투고요 말이 이게 연구요 사지 신진이 가지는 연구요 네 대대 돈이 돌지 송은 삼살로 돼 사지 송도 연구인 되니 송을 애들이 자와셨다 봐 토마스 한게들 들이 돌지들이 삽제 주제 우산 드마세서 생각이 여러분 놀라 뒤 책제의 일을 좀 생각하는 건 아시래 용진체 못해서 이제 사바 샤와 오사와 두바지가 드마세 봐서 서구 내려보내 되래. 그래서 따가 가는 남인께나 뒤는 적고 뒤는 적은 거요래. 그때 도지 송세 가리 따사주 주자었던데 마세에서 되지. 나다 돈이 좀 재미 재미 깨우는 게 동제다 사지 깔아주는 돈 거요래.
So we think that the outer planet or the universe, it seems so stable and solid. So also in some countries, I saw that they have these nuclear plants, and so they make nuclear bombs or atomic bombs, and actually a single one of them even can in an instant and easily and completely obliterate like 200 300 countries or so. So very easy you can destroy anything with this atomic bomb. So however, there is also a limit to its destructiveness, and that is, the Buddha said that because it is a compounded phenomenon, all compounded phenomena are impermanent. So also these like nuclear like kind of like reactors and so on, it consists of a kind of a accumulation of many different particles, atomic particles, and atomic particles will in the end disperse, will all disintegrate because they are compounded and that therefore they are impermanent. So first, the Buddha had resolved is that the outer universe, the world, and the inner sentient beings all are such compounded phenomena, therefore they are impermanent. And the mind, however, is uncompounded. So in our mind, we currently think that it's all real, it's a concrete, a solid world, it's the reality. And then sometimes people are afraid this world is going to be destroyed and so on. And this is how we think. If we think that the outer world possesses a concrete existence. And then within the inner mind, when we think that things are real, the thought that things are real arises from the self-grasping mind. And so the self-grasping mind is something that is very difficult to destroy. Even such an atomic bomb can't destroy the self-grasping mind. So how do we destroy the self-grasping mind? It can only be destroyed when one realizes the twofold truth as taught by the Buddha. So in order to realize the ultimate truth, finally, first we need to realize the relative truth. And so on the relative level, there is self-grasping. And as long as there is self-grasping, there is this Mount Meru of views, these mountains of views. There's so many different views, and so on. So however many views there are, and however many kind of thoughts, forms there are in the mind, the stronger one self-grasping, the more heavy will be one's karmic imprints in the mind. And for this reason, because we bring this heavy load of karmic imprints rising out of self-grasping with us in samsara, we endlessly wander in the three lower realms and we cannot become liberated. We cannot see that there is actually no self. And the reason why we cannot easily destroy this false perception of a self is because it's not a thing that can be seen. It's not something that can be thought of. It's not an object of sight or thought. The only way to get rid of self-grasping is through the altruistic mind. It has to be melted by the altruistic mind, just like melting ice. And that is because the self and the altruistic mind are mutually exclusive states of mind. So when you think of yourself, then you don't think of others. So how do we destroy self-grasping? It is through the altruistic mind. So that's most important. the 37 practices, it says the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So each and every day, that is what we should focus on, cultivating the altruistic mind. And somebody who cultivates this wish to benefit others all the time will become a bodhisattva in the future. Basically, they become a good person. And that is really the ultimate Buddhist practice, to really become a bodhisattva, to become a good-hearted person. And it is through such a good heart that one destroys self-grasping. And this is the only way one can do it. So one destroys it with the weapon of bodhicitta. And once the self-grasping is completely destroyed, one realizes selflessness. So that's the wisdom realizing selflessness. And that is called the ultimate truth. So the ultimate truth is realized by first understanding that the outer universe and all beings are compounded and therefore impermanent. And that is what the Buddha said. And so then what is actually the Buddha? Who is the Buddha? Buddha is actually the natural state of the mind. The state of a Buddha is the uncompounded state. For example, space is uncompounded. And likewise, the inner mind is uncompounded. And that is the only lasting, ultimate state. It is also referred to as the Buddha Vajradhara. So all the outer, realizing that will destroy the grasping, the fixation on the true existence of outer appearances. So that is the Mount Meru of views, and then it says, I prostrate to your unhindered Vajra speech. So they are the great masters who have heard the Buddha's words and then endured many hardships and became siddhas and have realized the nature of mind through the Buddha's Vajra speech. So how they have realized it is that first they have completely destroyed all selfish attitudes, states of mind. Then they have realized that everything that appears is an illusion. And then they have only engaged in the benefit of others, and this has completely destroyed their self-grasping. And they have realized that there is no self and other. It is said that within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So we have said before, diversity has one taste. So many Buddhas are complete within a single Buddha. And one taste appears as a diversity. And then one Buddha pervades all of samsara and nirvana. So from the perspective of the view of Madhyamaka, the middle way, and the middle way teaches that the mind or things ultimately do not exist. They do. So they don't exist. They don't not exist. Then they don't exist and not exist, and they do not exist and not exist. So anyways, this is something that the Khenpos can teach you. This is how they have resolved the nature of the mind. So from the perspective of the scriptures and logic, the Madhyamaka explains the nature of things. And then from the perspective of direct experience, one follows the lineages of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, and so based on actual personal practice, one can directly see the true nature of phenomena, the nature of the mind, and experience it oneself. So what one experiences directly is the space-like nature of the mind. And there are many who have realized that nature and who have, for example, attained the rainbow body. So that is in brief the Buddhist view. And if you think about the great qualities of the Buddhist view and how the Buddhist view explains the nature of the mind, once you really understand that, then there will be no more basis of saying, I am a Buddhist and he's not a Buddhist, and so on. Because the Buddha already said that all sentient beings are Buddhas. And realizing that will be just like the sun rising in the sky. It is said in the Genjis Mahamudra, a single lamp flame dispels the darkness of 1,000 eons. So in just an instant, all ignorance is cleared away and one sees the ultimate truth. So this is something very profound that can be realized. And so I myself do not have much learning, but I'm always really thinking about it and really thinking about it carefully. So I prostrate to your unhindered Vajra speech. This refers to seeing the Vajra speech which shows the ultimate truth, so we can see the ultimate truth. So all the teachings of the Buddha are included within the twofold truth, the two truths. Ultimately, we need to realize the ultimate truth, but in order to realize it, we first need to realize the relative truth, which is the cultivation of the four immeasurables. If we do not realize that, do not cultivate that, we will not realize the ultimate truth. And until we have realized the ultimate truth, we will always perceive a duality of self and other, and Buddhas and sentient beings and so forth. And so this line here, this prostration, these words of homage are a praise of the enlightened qualities of the Buddha's speech. When the Buddha Shakyamuni himself had attained enlightenment in Bodh Gaya, he explained the nature of the mind in four words, and these words are really significant. So you should keep them in mind. So he said that the natural state is profound, it is peaceful, it is luminous, and it is without any concept, or it is unelaborated. And so therefore this unelaboration is uncompounded. So in these short words, the Buddha explained the actual nature of the mind. So if you just analyze this and think about what the Buddha said, and then what we are reading here, everything actually has the same meaning. Everything really agrees with each other. And so this Vajra speech, what the Vajra speech that we prostrate to shows us, is the ultimate truth, the unborn nature, the empty nature of all phenomena. And that is realized on the basis of understanding the Buddha's speech. So how can we explain that just in simple terms, this Vajra speech, which is the ultimate truth? Of course, much can be said about that, but to just explain it in simple terms to my Dhamma friends, for people like myself, it's actually something I'm telling you again and again. What the essence is love. Love is most precious. As we have said, even an atomic bomb that can destroy the entire world cannot destroy self-grasping. So even if the whole world is destroyed by nuclear bombs, the sentient beings in this world still have a self, and their self will not be destroyed by these bombs. Only if one cultivates immeasurable love can one destroy self-grasping. And so you can look at your own mind, or somebody who really has developed immeasurable love and compassion, or bodhicitta. That person naturally will be very relaxed in their mind. So even 1,000 nuclear bombs cannot destroy self-grasping. And that weapon of bodhicitta is 1,000 times more powerful than a nuclear bomb. It can destroy self-grasping. So actually, I don't know anything but the 37 bodhisattva practices. But in there, it says, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. This is something I am continuously keeping in my mind. That's what I do. I read the 37 practices, and then I speak to others about it, to the best of my abilities. I explain as much as I can, and the things that I don't know, I apologize for. But so in any case, so how can we understand now this Vajra speech? It is love. So first, love must arise. If immeasurable love does not arise, then there is no way you can destroy self-grasping. And then no matter how much you know about the ultimate truth, no matter how much you speak about the ultimate truth, it is not a direct experience, and therefore it cannot destroy self-grasping. So love, or loving kindness, is really most important, and that's also why actually this is how I make my signature. So when I sign something, I sign it with samtse or chamtse, which is like loving kindness or loving compassion. That's the reason why.
너나 남카들 좋아요 말 베스트에서 죽을 남카다 죽을 낳고 그래 로네 대바들더니 로네 제자 조지 니요래 사제 토로 제자 조지 니요 말이 남지 그들이 남카다 메롱타버시 차버는 때 남지 치고 그래 제ኛ만이 말 주섬 집에 dom창도 대바 마음과 다다 주섬 집에 이 시대 탐지하고 요래서 그 강에지 주섬들 롤 쳐버왕들 주섬 제라 마토서 저 주섬 요 말이지 내바트양 도반이 다다트야 다다 그 탐지 동반이라는 제양 많이 장 차와에서 베스트다 첩지 총철때 주섬 주민이 동상을 주요 말이지 주섬 집에 있어도 님이 르저터로 삼살로 어들 배는 산지 독대 배는 셔저는 셔저든 자손 남아서 셔는 셔는 것들 지도 매받아 왕가 가리더니 셔그 또 제가요 메롱 또 제가 대해서 이제 산지게 나도 제지 야연만에 이제 답지 락다 말을 제발지 라지 것들이 제때 탐지 집에 시게 됐어요. 제바 보가 추장아 제사 삼생아 산지게 심지 탐지 제사 다시 예미마도 무슨 랑을이지 다 심지 탐지는 사제시 예미를 중송거는 가서 심지 탐지 동의를 내가 마다로 때마다 사제게 심지 남은 사제니서 그래서 탐지들이 사제 토라더니 고대기 요 말에지 같은 짓에서 보면 산지선은 대인 나면 매지 그때 흘리저도 쉽지 또도 남지 흘리저도 거를 때 산지게 몇 도다게 배심지 동때 말해서 유밀하게 투지 개념에 무슨 집에 이제 또 정말 이미 흘리저도 삼살로서
Then the next next it says, and so that was the prostration to the speech, and next is the prostration to the mind. So it says, in the mandala of immutable mind beyond thought, you never move from the equanimity state of Dharma Dhatu, yet you hold the wisdom power of knowing the 3 times. I prostrate to the spontaneously established non-duality. So first, the immutable mind beyond thought. So immutable or unchanging, that refers to the Dharmakaya, which is Vajradhara. The Dharmakaya is unchanging and without arising and without decline. So it is like space. The Dharmakaya is like space. Then the mind beyond thought, or the mind that transcends the intellect. So the intellect is, for the intellect, there is always a duality. There is someone who brings up a thought, thinks about something. So there is a thinker and a thought. But on the state of Buddhahood, on the level of Buddhahood, there is no thinker, no thought. It all becomes one, non-dual, like space. This is also not a kind of the mirror-like wisdom of the Buddha. It is this kind of all-pervasive, natural state. The Buddhas naturally know everything. So he never moves from the equanimity state of Dharma Dhatu, and he holds the wisdom and power. So the of knowing the 3 times. So regarding the 3 times, we think that there are those 3 times. There is the past, the present, and the future. And we say that the Buddhas know the 3 times. The Buddhas know the 3 times with wisdom. But actually, how do they know the 3 times with wisdom? It is because they know that there are no 3 times. They have realized timelessness. The 3 times is a mental construct, a thought that we have fabricated, but it's not something that actually exists. So that's how one knows the 3 times, because there are no 3 times. It is said that because everything is empty of the times, anything can arise. And anything that arises is like the magical display of the mind itself. So ultimately, there is no time. And so I prostrate to the spontaneously established non-duality, which is the Buddha's mind. Often when we give an empowerment substance to show the mind is, for example, the crystal or a mirror. And that is because from a crystal, rainbow lights emerge. But the crystal does not think about those rainbow lights as something separate. So in a similar way, the Buddha's mind is like a crystal. And so to a Buddha, there is no distinction, there's no delineation between that Buddha's mind and anybody else, self and others. The only thing there is that, like, it's a question of having or not having realized that. But that's what makes this seeming difference. But in reality, there's really no separation. And this is how Buddhas perceive others. And that is why they engage in activities to benefit others just naturally. So when the Buddhas teach, for example, or when this guru teaches, he doesn't think that here I am the teacher and these are the ones I'm teaching, that those are the ones that listen to the teachings. So to the guru, the teacher is themselves, and also the one that he teaches is also themselves. So everything is one. Self and other are indivisible. There's no distinction. It is just that we see it in that way. We think that we are ordinary sentient beings, and here is the guru or the Buddha who teaches, and we listen because we are suffering sentient beings, and so on. But to the guru who has realized the ultimate, who possesses this all-knowing wisdom, to them, even though sentient beings see that way, to those omniscient ones, they see that those sentient beings just see that way temporarily. like an illusion. But in their mind, in the mind of a Buddha, we are actually inseparable. Samsara and nirvana are inseparable. Yesterday we also mentioned Thigden Sumgön had said on the level of Buddhahood, the two truths do not exist. And so then here, the spontaneously established also means the spontaneous accomplishment of sentient beings, benefit. Meaning that when the Buddhas benefit sentient beings, they don't benefit them in an effortful way. They don't make effort, but they benefit beings naturally or spontaneously.
그래서 침바들 사진 침반 이서 저 다른 침바다 개집의 침바 대그 예사시 화장실이 예바 요래 대체 답이 나와시라 가능 용금 말이 sempre 고아담 요나 양들이 대상이 기본 된지는 못 듣게 양 제일 기도 삼절라 이렇게 야 좋아하더니 사진 침반 이송 침바들 대요래지.
Then regarding the wisdom of a Buddha, it is said that a Buddha possesses a twofold wisdom. One is the knowledge, the wisdom that knows how things are, the true nature of things. And the second one is the Buddhas also know however many things there are, the extent of things. And just with regard to these two kinds of wisdom, so many elaborate explanations can be given, but it just won't come out of my mouth because I just have basically an understanding of it, but I can't really explain it. And so that's why later on, Khenpo Tenzin Rinpoche will explain that to you and you can ask him questions. So anyways, there is these two kinds of knowledge or wisdom.
이미 레저트라시바데 다다 고아창 이 소소랑 이식이 와서 소소랑 그 생고 내력대 가든 통선아 들지 생고 내력서 냠들 가까이 말해야지 너는 생고 내력도 som들이 산전 공부대 잠시 다 랑지게 랑그 생고 내력 네 용지 이거래스.
And then also regarding the spontaneously established, one way to understand that too is it refers on the ultimate level to one's own primordial awareness, the self-knowing primordial awareness. So whenever you realize the nature of the mind, you realize it, and you realize that it is already together with you. It has never been separate. When you realize it, when you realize the nature of the mind, you realize that the state of Buddhahood naturally, inherently exists within yourself, is a quality of your own mind.
다들 책도 어리 그래서 사제 탐색을 드니 까빠 잡수 말이 탐색을 드니 사제 탐색 요장 요지 좋아요 말이지 그래서 그래서 책도 어리 산지 거성 그 용띠지 거성 그 용띠 거성 톡지 거쪽 거성 그 톡지 거성 그래서 산지 거성 그 용띠지 같이 랑아도야 요 말이 야다 추지 본보 예체지 동 레레레 제세지 동도 단데라고 했더니 많은 좋아요래지.
And then next it says, even if expressed during all oceans of kalpas by all the victorious ones without exception, the qualities of your body, speech, and mind would not be completed. I prostrate to you who possesses limitless qualities. So these words seem to be quite clear. So if we were to express, if we tried to express the qualities of all those Buddhas of the 3 times, ocean-like Buddhas, there would be no end to it. The qualities are really endless. But in brief, we say in terms of the qualities of the 3 kayas, of body, speech, and mind, in terms of the 3 kayas, the body is the nirmana kaya, the speech, the sambhoga kaya, and the mind is the dharma kaya. But if we were to talk about their qualities, it would be endless. Just like, for example, we say there are 84,000 Dharma teachings, but then they can each be combined with each other, so 84,000 times 84,000 and so on. It is actually endless. So similarly, the Buddha's qualities are endless.
혼대 강거인들이 내가 되는 도를 스티 제라 강나 강저를 뒤에서 신진 성질 피바다 대와 좀니 대사기 시랍다 니제를 뒤에다 용거 시랍사가 용거리 시랍대 사지용거리 내려지니들이 탐지를 빼는 생도 못 줄을 때는 다 쫓고 용어지 해서 제 랑거 과를 생도 못 줄을 때는 다 사지를 랍나 랍쪽도 가래 나니 셴용 주로나 말아 생도 못을 쌍모도 생도 못에게 속차 첩차 망보 딸랭이겠다 당디 뛰는 로아도 들어오지 않나 속차 첩차 망보 약 사ven적 봐줘 뭔가 장은적 봐줘 카라다 제바 행동 찍게 되리지는 행동되는 사제의 통고를 빼서 통고도 들어가고 고할 때라고 자성 대로 실제 조사요 말이 그리고 제일 참아 사제게 내가 공은 로요래 이 현대에서야 저래고 왔다지 그 생계라는 게 신대단 거 배래 그런 장인이 맞아서 집에 돈은 심지 당시에 핀받아 데비드 돈은 야 그래서 다들 못하다 남불라서 왔다지 존인 삼지 같이 핀 것도 심지 코와를 랑이 보고 내려온 창우나 대답제로 대답 고고요리 대답이 내가 동의를 했다고 좋고요 이 탐지 사진을 찾아야지 너는 시랍 때문에 시작시 제 사진 사와제에서 데려뜨리는 나가 양도 싸는 것도 않고 아테로 시작해도 되게 당황을 참아고 아무 때는 여태까지 피바 내가 좀 탐지 사진을 고만 사진이 좀 쪼까래 되세요 고아 참 될 가래 팽을 되지 소소로 당황한 거래 오 이제 코아바를 제발에 거치기 말이 또 우리 이제 대사를 이제 시랍대 사직이 시랍을 제봐요 남지 시랍을 시랍 요리 니기를 시랍대 니기에 탐지되니 사진을 제봐요 그래 나디지 심지는 제봐요 그래 말과대 제 마도서 저게 사진 심지냠도 제기는 돈나 심지도 탐지는 제 니기 제보지 돈도 나보지 않으니까 아니도 대서 심지 산지에 착자 타바를 독성을 좋아를 독 소실 적 제일 배고요 말이 산지에 셋쪽쪽도 죽으는 지제는 들어오는 배고요 말이지 들어오는 나보자 대사의 지금은 대사기 시에 들이 자고지 조자들 시에 줘야 매받았다 대사의 동하고는 이제 라는 거 과거는 야보요래 문의들이 상하기는 나와라 답방하지는 대단히 좀 다치는 관련 정도로 그러지.
And just to explain it also from the perspective of my own understanding, one quote by Thigden Sumgön that he said in the Gongchik, he said, everything that's done in the field of knowable things, which is this world, everything that's done is done by Buddha. So even in a temporary sense in samsara, the Buddhas appear in any way in order to benefit sentient beings in the 6 realms. So therefore, to me, really anyone who benefits others, who brings about their happiness, is an emanation of a Buddha. And a Buddha benefits others with wisdom and compassion. So the things that they do it with wisdom and then also compassion. So there's one example, now speaking about the qualities of a Nirmanakaya, just one of them, and that's just my own personal example, my own understanding, is that to me, a tree, for example, is a Buddha emanation. So if you would ask me, is a tree a Buddha, I can say a tree, to me, a tree is a Buddha. And I've told my Dharma friends that many times before. And so that is because within that one tree, can actually benefit hundreds and thousands of different animals, little life forms. So an animal is a being who, due to their negative karmas and self-grasping, temporarily has taken birth in the 6 realms, in the animal realm. So now there are animals, and they experience suffering, and the tree is there to relieve their suffering. For example, in the summertime, it provides the animals shade, some cooling, and in the wintertime, it provides them protection, and it also provides food. A tree is a source of food, and so on. So actually, to me, I really see a tree, for example, as an emanation of a Buddha. That's just my example. And then, of course, there are endless qualities of a Buddha. For example, also the activities of scientists, to me, really are activities of a Buddha, if you really think about it carefully. And then, of course, it all depends on the motivation one has, whether it's positive or negative. But in brief, anyone who really brings about the benefit and happiness of beings is really a Buddha emanation to me. For example, scientists have created cars and airplanes and so on, and we can see how much these vehicles have benefited people. Because now people are already born in samsara due to the force of their karmic winds. Without any freedom, they are born and in samsara and wander in samsara. So temporarily, they need some relief, and these scientists bring them some relief. And that is really an activity of a Buddha. So everything that's done in the field of knowable things is done by Buddha. But this is one example that I'm thinking about over and over again, and this is how I understand it. And this is also how a pure view arises. When you think about anyone who brings about the happiness of others as a Buddha emanation, a pure view will arise in you. So that's the benefit of such reflection. It also benefits you because a pure view arises. Because some people think, what's so special about those scientists, and they're just samsaric beings, worldly beings. But don't see it that way, because they bring about the benefit of others, and they do that with a mind of wisdom through intelligence. And the intelligence is directly connected to the Buddha mind. And then someone who develops their intelligence also cultivates compassion. And then as a result of that, in the end, they will realize enlightenment, that their mind is Buddha. So these qualities in the mind of intelligence or wisdom and compassion are connected to the Buddha. And likewise, self-grasping, ignorance is connected to sentient beings. So now Buddhas and sentient beings actually coexist. And it is said actually that the Buddhas appear in all of the 6 realms, in the individual bodies of the 6 realms. So for example, when you look into the animal realm, there are certain animals that are very compassionate and that protect the other animals. That can be said to be a Buddha emanation. So when we say that in each of the 6 realms a Buddha appears, it doesn't mean that in each of the realms there is this kind of meditative Buddha statue sitting there, benefiting them. Like for example in the animal realm, this is not how they appear. If they appear in the animal realm, then they appear as an animal and so forth. So in any case, we could just speak endlessly of the qualities of Buddha. But thinking in these ways has benefited me very much. And also it's connected to the Vajrayana, where we say that all appearances are the deity, all sound is the mantra. Because in the end, this is the path that we have to enter.
Then Kovajato Tomma just run a member of trade also. The Kovajato Tomma Joga territory, Tasaji, Karamwe, Chukari, longer, Chocolate, since it's only about the Lamata Jelly, Koa Maton, what they just so. Oh, the Lamate, Kashi, that Tomma, you know, Lamade. Sheng Pepper was also more Zucati, 톡 축하세들이 송다 토고티 드바삼들 쪼거티들이 코 마사고 봐도 패고요 당내리 그러지 예보다는 얘는 사지 돈 사적 세부들이고 그봐 뉴면 제바 라마게 위시 있잖아 그것도 손으로 톡축고 그 손까지 권총까지 이용띠지 오 뉴만 제바도 됐다고들이 정말 반나기 저 세상에 다 믿어 시와가기 말해 대답을더니 거기다 좀 맞던거 봐도 그러면 맞으면 틀려 줘도 나토 런접 전세메 봐야지 이제 트북걸라들이 트북거 시바 빼만 보여요 기와 트북거 라마게위시니 저리 조트북거 고송 톡진 당간 추진 제라서 와서지 조트북거지 저리 나초트북거 되는 저리 다 중앙가 생중앙가 제라서 와서지 초당 삼바 다 신기든 로아를 소수력이 들리지 저봐 주면 나초 런접되네 대랑 이면 받아 공시 받는 이 뚫고 용무지를 들이 조트버거 지와트버거 사소트버거 송 걸라테서 다다다리 시반만 보여래 이제 제게지 놀라서니 양팀 보는 보치가 들이 양들 아들이 잡고 그래서 오늘 개고래지
And then next verse it says, until the ocean of samsara is exhausted, you perform the supreme activities that ripen all sentient beings. So until the ocean of samsara is exhausted. Until the ocean of samsara is exhausted, until it is empty, the Buddhas will continue to appear. From the Dharmakaya arises the Sambhogakaya, and from that arises the Nirmanakaya. And those emanations appear to benefit sentient beings continuously. We often supplicate a guru, a lama, may you remain until the end of samsara. But then some people think that, but this lama has now disappeared. So, for example, he has passed into nirvana, now he is not here. But this is not how one should see it at all, because their emanations will continuously manifest, and their mind is always inseparable from the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya. And also their Nirmanakayas, the Durgus, will continue to appear until the end of samsara. They will just exchange their bodies, but they will always appear out of bodhicitta continuously, uninterruptedly. So within one such a lama, all of these qualities are complete. So for example, the three jewels or the three roots or the three kayas. For example, the body is the Nirmanakaya, the speech, the Sambhogakaya, and the mind is the Dharmakaya. The guru, the lama, is the embodiment of all these jewels, and the guru will continuously manifest uninterruptedly. It's just that ordinary beings see it like when someone dies, then it's just like a flower withering. But that's really not how it is. And so then it says, I prostrate to you, the Lama, who is the manifold, effortlessly arising, unceasing, supreme refuge. So as I said, there are many different qualities to the Nirmanakaya, and it can be explained really extensively. But there are basically three kinds of Nirmanakayas. There is the incarnated Nirmanakaya, for example, a lama, a guru who incarnates. Then there is the created Nirmanakaya, for example, any representation of the Buddha's body, speech, or mind, like an image, a statue, a tanka, a stupa, and so on. And then there is the manifold Nirmanakaya, which is the Buddha appearing in many different forms, such as the 5 elements on the outer level, for example, water, or even a bridge, for example. So the Nirmanakayas appear in myriads of ways in the 6 realms of samsara. As I said before, the Nirmanakaya really possesses endless qualities. But there are those 3, the incarnated, the created and the manifold Nirmanakayas. And there are so many different ways of explaining this. And so for the more elaborate explanation, then Khenpo Rinpoche will explain that to you, and you also should ask him questions again and again. So these are the qualities of the Nirmanakaya.
Not also the 내가 고아대 저도 제말이 빛남 사는 데는 제말이 봐서 홍싱의 패디 저서 동네 마지 홍중앙가에 가는 잡로요스 중앙가에 가는 저도 강소하다 바보들은 홍요송 제 너무 사촉스면 거를 차대오는더니 선중앙아 대들이 생기다다 마음이백을 생기다다 유무망가기를 대요레스 유무망가대 매송의 시간이지 별로 신토 마음이바 탑지 계획을 요요요리 뭐도 소차서 미네들이 이거사 주바람 보이들 공부 배치도 매마음이 제발을 받아서 선중앙아 낭유몽아 상황이 시간아지 대답을 차고 그러더니 톡 이시가들 미네들이 톡 남지 이시를 미는 이시 남아가람 이거 사용료래 디베 셜린자 송포는더니 셜린자 마포는자 송나람 이거 사용을 디세 중앙나 나라 제타베 가는자 송 중앙은자 송제라서 요래 들이다다 생중앙나 되네 로다다 탐지 되네 문내지를 조금 공선도로 요래 조거다 들자다 들지기 바나 고아는 들자티 삼지 마미바 들이 유모망은 내 미리 시간 미인을 빼지도 매도 마미바 사운데 미나 매도를 저런 거래 마미를 들이지다 다다다 그렇게 탐지거든 사운데 다보자 사람이 저다 레집데 로도나빌라서 오는 사람은 요처럼 못오기 오도데 사운데 멤버 탑지 그거래 다 쪽을 내가 데려오래 데려지는 거는 멤버집에 심지 멤버 동물들이 코와 마동을 받듯이 조금 이제 받을래지 요래지 쪽을 들럭서 선중앙 아이 가라 차올려 들때 나는 유몽아 비는 상황이나 민ser 미비제 요 선중앙아 내 나는 유몽아 내 상황이가 미제 가래 이제 다지제 인핑으로 미우나 인핑이 돈이를 먹는데 그 다도 돈바차 인핑이 로스를 다배가로 다배 와서 인핑이 로스에 지니 이 돈당원이 봐 인핑이 로스 다지니 매가 차오리 예를 들다 매력 데이터 미기요리 대서배도 배제서 게임 탐에 데이터를 들이 다시는 로동 준체면 주체점에 봐 대리 코가 마도바를 십지 삼지 라는 셈네 미마탄 상계에 마미를 셈지 데이터를 너는 십지 마미를 받듯이 시작다 현재도 요래도 시작공을 하잖아 돈당 같은 거 시나 셈 내로도 또 오르세를 하면 이것들이 현재 요래 돈이 현재 속는 줘봐 민재도 십지게 별라마 계획이 현재 요래 십지 다디지는 주제 요 말이 배제다더니 다디지들 어때 삼니지로 레주레로 다고 니지시는 미사모 차고를 배제서 민옥대 셔도 삼모던 오타테리 다테군이라 그리고 뭐 처리를 같은 거래 문의를 받겠다 레지 고속을 봐
So this term manifold here, the Lama who is manifold, in Milarepa's life story, it says that at the end of Milarepa's life, before he passed into Nirvana, Milarepa said to his disciples, "Do not be sad, because even after I have left the body, I will continue to be there and pervading the 5 elements. And whoever supplicates me, I will be right there with them." And that is because the Lama's essence is bodhicitta. And so the 5 elements on the outer level, we have the 5 elements. And for as long as sentient beings are not matured, there are the 5 afflictive emotions in their mind. And when they mature, they become the 5 wisdoms. It is just like a seed growing, ripening into a fruit. But then, even though maybe you have an unripe fruit, so sentient beings are like this unripe fruit, and if you just take this unripe fruit and throw it in the trash, it will be like wasted. Maybe some bugs will eat it. But so that's kind of the unripe scenario. But when beings are ripened, then you pick up this fruit and allow it to mature, and then you offer it to someone, or you eat it, and so forth. It becomes useful. So the difference is being mature or immature, or having ripened or not ripened. So on the outer level, there are the 5 elements. On the inner level, there are the 5 afflictive emotions. And on the secret level, there are the 5 wisdoms. So meaning that when the 5 afflictions ripen, mature, they ripen into the 5 wisdoms, into the omniscient wisdom of a Buddha. So once one attains omniscience, this omniscient mind of wisdom possesses 5 qualities which we call the 5 wisdoms. For example, it is like the sun shining upon a crystal and then rainbow lights emerging from it. So 5 colored lights emerge from the crystal, but all being part of the crystal. And so in a similar way, everything that appears has that nature. For example, the 5 elements, or a rainbow in the sky, and so on. Or, for example, electricity, light energy, and so on. So all of that appearance actually is Nirmanakaya. So this is how we can understand Nirmanakaya. And for the Nirmanakaya, there are those to be tamed and those who tame. Those to be tamed are the unripe, immature beings with the 5 afflictive emotions, and those who tame have matured into the 5 wisdoms. So it is just like a seed of a flower growing into a flower. That is the ripening process. And so that is why the Nirmanakayas who tame others tell the disciples, you are like a seed, but protect that seed and place it into good ground, into good earth, and then pour water into it, and so on. Meaning the guru teaches them karma and the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, starting with the preliminaries and so on. So all of these instructions are methods for that seed to ripen. And that is basically the duty of a Nirmanakaya. That is what they do. They help ripen sentient beings, and that will be their activity for as long as samsara exists. They will always continue to pervade the 5 elements in order to help sentient beings mature. So this is how we can understand the way in which sentient beings mature and what is the basis of maturation. So first there are the 5 afflictions that ripen into the 5 wisdoms. And how does it happen? How do beings really ripen or mature? They mature their self-grasping and by transforming it through the altruistic mind. And then once the altruistic mind arises, then that matures into emptiness. Because when you cultivate an altruistic mind, then you are not thinking about yourself. The self disappears. And as a result of that, you realize the indivisible nature of self and others. So you realize the ultimate truth or emptiness by cultivating an altruistic mind. So this is one outer example, the example of a flower, but it is the same with everything else everything else that appears and exists. And so the emanations will continue to manifest unceasingly until the end of samsara. Buddhas will appear to ripen sentient beings. So when sentient beings' mind has become ripened, they are Buddhas, and if in an unripe state, they are sentient beings. And when they fully mature, they develop these qualities of wisdom and compassion. when they realize the nature of the mind, and they develop wisdom from which arises unobjectified compassion. So we call this the union of emptiness and compassion. So the gurus who benefit sentient beings have great compassion for them. And sentient beings lack compassion because they grasp it as self. So then the gurus want to help them by teaching them karma and helping them cultivate compassion. And then when they cultivate compassion, they become good people. So if you really think it through in this way, you will really see that this really, it actually even stands to reason, and it also agrees with science. So you can understand it also from an intellectual perspective. Please, Dharma friends, take a break for 20 minutes.
Thank you.